All right, everybody, how's it going? Welcome to another episode of the Murphy Street Podcast. I'm the host of the show, Murphy. Rules on Murphy Street simple, always the same. Shoes and slippers at the door. Come inside and let's talk story. Once again, as you guys can see, I am joined by my guy, Jesse Cedar Soberman, the head of the Hawaii Star Wars collector community.
What's up?
Also, before I get started, I always want to make sure to thank and let you know that we are coming live to you from the heart, Hawaii. Hey, how's it going, TikTok verse? We appreciate you. Here with none other than the Godfather Ken.
How's it going?
All right, and since we have him, I actually want to. Can I turn the camera around on you?
No, of course
Oh,
not.
okay, all right. All right, so really quickly, before we get started on the Star Wars content, I want to talk about what happened this weekend because we had Pokemon Worlds. And all I want from you, Ken, before you start shaking your head, is just to know what you thought of the Pokemon drone show.
Speechless.
That is a very good word. Very good word.
That's a long answer.
Yes, absolutely. It was a great weekend though. I will say that I went to the Pokemon Center, took my son. It was a fantastic time. Great for everybody of all ages.
Yeah.
Fantastic curated experience. If you're a Pokemon fan, if you're not, if you just want to escape the world, I will say it was a dope place. I did not get to go down to the competition floor though.
So did you have a pass?
Well, we had to make a reservation, and then we were able to get in and purchase the merch pretty much. And there was a lot of Hawaii exclusive stuff. Most of it was gone by the time we got there.
Okay.
The
So
shelves
you just
were
made
bare.
the most of it. You had fun. Because I heard some people complaining, like maybe they felt shut out of they didn't get the merch they wanted?
Right,
or-
yeah, probably. So, like I said, when I got there were a lot of bare shelves. But I literally just took my son as a surprise, and
Yeah.
that was all it was worth. That's all I really wanted.
I mean, I feel like they set it up as an exclusive event, which
Uh-huh.
is what they always do. So, I mean, the word exclusive means somebody's going to get excluded, right?
Yes, that's what it means.
So if you had the pass, if you got up on the day it dropped, you're going to enjoy it more than the people that are unfortunately left out.
Yeah.
And so,
No, but I enjoyed
what
it,
it's worth,
and for everyone who was left out, everyone was invited to the Pokemon Drone Show at the end of the night. If you guys haven't checked it out already, on my TikTok, I actually have a video of the entire drone show. It's about 10 minutes long. Really, really dope, and definitely.
so anybody
something-
could experience that. though,
Yes,
the drone
that was
show.
for everybody. That was outside
Yeah.
the lagoon of the
So it's
Hilton Hawaiian
entertainment,
Village.
right? It's
Yeah.
free entertainment,
Exactly right, and that is what Pokemon has been doing since 1996. So had a great time. Also, Ken, I don't know if you know, you probably do know, but Pokemon Worlds for 2025 and 2026 were announced, and 2025 will be in Anaheim.
Right? Oh.
2026 in San Francisco.
I think just as collectors, we take things a little personally. Like
Absolutely.
when we really want something
Mhm.
and you don't get it, or if you wanted a little more access, but just gotta try a little harder next time.
Well,
if you didn't get in.
You do and you don't, because like one thing that I was talking about, and I don't want to say complaining about, was the fact that right outside the area where you queued up to go inside was like this crazy bazaar of secondhand resellers immediately reselling what they just purchased upstairs.
That is a major issue with any
Yeah.
exclusives
Yeah.
too, right?
And Ken actually did a good job of explaining it to me for those of you guys who are like, oh my god, it was so ugly. And I will say it did kind of give it a slimy feel, but just think of it like this. It was like the Super Bowl. Anytime that there's a Super Bowl, Ken, this is Ken's word. Anytime that there's a Super Bowl, you will have scalpers and people that do that kind of thing. And you know what? It happened. It does happen.
Okay, quick
wasn't as
story.
bad.
Remember Zuzu Pets?
Yes. You were scalping Zuzu pets.
I mean, like I
Oh
heard
my God, let's just not.
they
Wait a
got mentioned on Walmart.com or some kind of Christmas
Sure.
toys to watch out for. I went down to Long's in Big Island and there was like 8 of them, and I'm like, look, if I don't grab these, they're gonna be sold out by the end.
You
of the
became
day.
one of the dads from Jingle All the Way.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I know it. You are never welcome back now. Just kidding. All right. Okay, you guys. So I know that you guys are here because we said we will be talking about the Acolyte. The news that the Acolyte season 2 is no longer a thing.
I really thought it was gonna happen, man. I just felt like the way they set it up, and Disney, sometimes they go against the grain a little bit and they do what they want to do, not what people tell them to do.
Disney, you mean?
Yeah.
Yes.
And I feel like they kind of, I'm just gonna
Capitulated?
say it, they kind of capitulated.
Yeah.
They genuflected. They caved to the pressure. I don't know what the story is at this point, but I would have liked to have seen the end to some of these stories and it's to me it's a big bummer that they're just capping it right now.
Yeah, and I will say that I too, I'm not saying that it was the best production at all, but I will say I was entertained. I was very, very hopeful and excited for season 2 to see one more Plagueis,
Yeah.
to see the path
The
of
stranger.
Chimera, yes, the stranger, to see what would actually become of Amanda Stenberg's, and both Osha and May. I wanted to see what what those arcs were going to look like, because May had her memory wiped. Osha just decided to go with the dark side. Like, we were seeing the other side of the coin finally, and I was really digging that storyline. And it started to get good, if I can be honest. Like, I was really enthralled at that point. Now, I went and got a couple quotes from a couple outlets before you and I start to get too deep into it, and I just wanted to read these because these really struck a chord with me. The first one is from a Twitter handle. Her name is Maggie of the Town, Maggie Lovett. She actually talks a lot of Star Wars stuff, so I had to follow her because she's got some great stuff in there. But she had a tweet that said, or I don't know, an X, I don't know what you call it nowadays. But yeah, she had a tweet called, and it said, the double whammy of hearing Temuera Morrison talk about the lack of hope for Bubba's return because of the negativity online, coupled with the news about the Acolyte, speaks to a real issue I see in the TV side of Star Wars. It continues to cater to the absolute worst people. Before we open up, one last thing from Variety.com. The author of this was Adam Berry. He says, the news about the Acolyte, the news comes at once as a shock, given how much of the season 1 finale ended on a cliffhanger and teased several plot lines for a season 2, and not much of a surprise given the wildly opposing reception from fans and the less than robust viewership that appeared to drop off after the series premiere in June. Now, I gotta ask, Jess, because one, I greatly respect your opinion in this type of things, and you and I talked a couple times. We did a couple like recaps of shows and of the show The Acolyte.
Yep.
So let me ask you: is this the beginning of enabling the whiny kitty baby whiners?
I mean, I feel like that already happened with Rise of Skywalker. You know, because there was, to me, it's a lot of the same thing where people. They had an initial negative reaction to to The Last Jedi, and then they kind of started campaigning. It, like, a normal reaction would just be like, I don't like it. Okay, you know, or let's talk about it a little bit. This is what I didn't like. This is this is what I like. Oh, I can agree with you that thing was not that great, but here's why I liked it. You know, or something like that's a normal discussion. But people were escalating that to like a campaign level.
Yeah.
To like try to influence the outcome. And then, you know, I think that happened in Rise of Skywalker, where they kind of like flipped on a lot of the storylines that seemed to be developing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I would say yes, it's a continuation of that.
Yeah.
You know, but at the end of the day, I mean, like, let's be real. Like, I really liked this show, and there was a lot of things that I really enjoyed about it. And, you know, relative to the other shows, some things that I like better about this show than a lot of them. But let's be real. Like, they could have still done better.
Absolutely.
And by spending $180 million, they didn't really get a blockbuster, right? And I mean, when is, like, I'm not a complainer. I don't want to be lumped in with those people, because I'll sit here and I'll talk to you about the Acolyte for hours and tell you all the things I liked about it.
Right.
And we can do that at some point in time. But it shouldn't be that, not that I could do it, but for the greatest, you know, entertainment companies and the greatest artists in the field, to be able to make something that's just universally accepted and loved. Even if it's not as good as the original trilogy, but that's just, bam, that was a grand slam. You know, like, when are we going to get to that point?
Well, and here's my question, is in kind of in unison with yours, is how did we get to this point? Because I feel like every single thing that has come, even Andor initially, has come with the hum of negativity. Like, it's almost like the Star Wars fan base wants that extra notch in their lapel to say, hey, we got this one, kind of, we slowed this one down, or we,
well, okay, like Force Awakens came out, right?
Sure.
That's the first Disney production.
Yes, episode 7.
It was the biggest blockbuster in the history of
fine.
movies, right?
Sure.
Like it was the biggest
The Star Wars
grossing
movies. Yeah.
film.
Yeah.
I mean, it's still to this day the number one grossing film in America, not worldwide, but it's up there.
Uh-huh.
But people had a lot of complaints about it being a rehash of Star Wars, right? Like they said, it had a lot of the same beats, you know. And I agreed with that. I thought it was like a little safe.
Sure.
But then it seemed like they're gonna try to take some risks on the second movie.
Yeah.
Get a little bit outside of the box, right? With The Last Jedi. There was a couple things in The Last Jedi that were a little weird, like Mary Poppins, Leia, and just I guess Luke's characterization in general was a little difficult to swallow. But I could kind of see the reasoning for why they made him like that.
Yeah.
So I didn't think it was. I thought it was pretty good.
Yeah.
To be honest, I really
Force
enjoyed The
Awakens.
Last Jedi.
Right. Oh, Last Jedi. Right.
Well, both of them. But to be honest, The Last Jedi I liked even better than The Force Awakens because Luke Skywalker is my favorite character. And here we are, grown men, having come from that point where we were young and believed anything was possible. We could one day be Jedi ourselves. To now, where it's like hard to make it in life, you know what I mean, and struggling, doing our best we can.
And the best we can do is become amazing movie critics.
Yeah, and podcasters, right?
Yeah,
but like,
exactly.
I mean, anyway, I can see why Luke would be that way, but some people didn't like it, and so they complained. Then the the Rise of Skywalker was kind of just like, I don't know, it was kind of like. It just didn't seem to have any direction. It was kind of like all over the place. But at the end of the day, the sequel trilogy was like a greatest hits of all the original trilogy characters.
Sure.
Like each one got their own movie.
It was an homage, yeah.
Han Solo got one with Leia, and then Leia and Luke in the second one, and then Palpatine and everybody else in the third one. Lando,
Yeah.
and yeah. So I mean, they just. I think they had already lost a lot of the original fans by the end of the sequel trilogy because everybody felt like a bit of disrespect towards those characters. Like I thought they did a good job with Lando. Like I thought they were doing a good job with Luke until he just kind of like disappeared on a rock.
Yeah.
But like, this was a chance to really have like the reunion of Luke, Leia, and Han in the Falcon. And
They killed Han way too fast.
They killed Han, and yeah, it just seemed like a slap in the face. Like they were like, "Oh, we got this new franchise. We're going to introduce these new characters, and we'll just sort of use these old characters who are irrelevant."
Okay.
Yeah.
But
they actually were relevant and still are. Everything centers around that original trilogy, and that's what Okay, to sum it up. Because we could go through every movie here, and I could tell you.
I was going to say, we're going to bring it back to the Acolyte this way right now, but go ahead.
The original trilogy, everything... Sorry, what I meant to say is Disney is running from their past instead of focusing on what got them to where they are with Star Wars.
So you think that Disney first aired when they came out and said, everything you know about Star Wars, forget that. Because you remember they said that, right?
Yep.
So you think that's where they first aired?
Yeah, I mean, like it's not about rehashing it and making an exact remake.
Yeah.
But it's about understanding what made it great. Mythologies, like archetypal characters, music, visuals, like certain things that are just anchors, and like they tried to do that a little bit with some of the characters. Like you got your Poe Dameron, like who's supposed to be like Han Solo, but it's like it's deeper than that. It goes into like how the story needs to like tie together and be a mythology.
Okay, so let me again peel it back. I do want to talk about, because my question is really with this fan base initially. So what you're saying is the people who are complaining now, because you said that you feel like we lost a lot of the original fan base with that sequel trilogy. So the people that are complaining now are the new fans of Star Wars.
I think it's a mix.
Okay.
Yeah, because I think there's the internet kind of generation of people who, any way that you can get clicks, right?
Yeah.
Any way that you can get
The trolls. The
yeah, like if you
clickbaiters.
if a new, I mean, it's sort of like if you go and battle with Kendrick Lamar.
yes.
You
which
all
I
of a
will never
sudden,
do, but yeah.
or
I don't have bars like that.
Or Eminem. It's like
Yeah.
if you're Machine Gun Kelly and you think, oh, I'll go battle with Eminem.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, everybody's like, oh, who's Machine Gun Kelly, right?
Yeah.
So that's what these guys are doing on
They're
podcasts.
clickbaiting, okay.
The Star Wars show comes out, they put out a show the same day that says this is total crap.
Yeah.
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 And then
Okay.
other people go and parrot that. A lot of that is the younger fans, yeah. But then I think even amongst, people my age who are longtime fans, they start to catch wind of that, and some of them repeat it
And it
too.
just becomes toxic infections. I gotcha. Okay. So then let me ask you about the Acolyte. Just a really simple, basic question. In your opinion, and I'll give you mine after. Was it really that bad?
No.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I really want to, as future podcasts, I don't know if you mentioned we were thinking about doing like a rewatch of a lot of the.
I did mention that in one of the podcasts. Sure.
Yeah, so as we, whoa,
Demoted.
as we get ourselves together to do that.
Now you see why I stick with the wood stools, right? Jesse just got deflated. You guys.
Okay,
that's
I'm
what's
still
happening
here.
Yeah. Take a little air out of your argument there, but go ahead.
So yeah, I was just saying that it was not that bad. I really want to like go into in future podcasts like some of the arguments that people make, like good writing versus bad writing, character motivations. Like these are some of the things people said about the Acolyte. They don't understand the character motivation. It's poorly written, poorly conceived. It's I don't care about the characters and stuff like that. So I want to really kind of study those areas and try to understand, like, and go through each Disney Plus series, and maybe even in future episodes, maybe some of the movies and stuff too. And
Sure.
say, what about this is good writing, bad writing? What about this is, clear characterizations or unclear? Like, because was it bad? I mean, no. I mean, like when I started watching it, I was into it. It was like murder of the week, mystery, and then it was like this whole like mystery with the stranger, and Chimera,
Yeah.
and like a really cool Sith character,
Yeah.
and then just like a lot of cool costumes, a lot of cool aliens, a lot of cool good music, but like the hate that people are like, I can't stand these characters, like I don't have any sympathy for them. I mean, it's like, to me, I really thought it was quite clear that you have two twins
Yep.
who were separated due to a tragedy, right? A misunderstanding. Their parents were killed by Jedi and their whole coven. So what is their motivation? For one, it's revenge, right? And for the other, they are left in the dark, right? So their motivation was to try to move on, but she was just like stuck in this kind of emotional confusion.
Yeah, she
Right?
didn't have the full picture, the whole story. So it was like just trying to realize herself who she was, where
Which
she
is-
was coming from,
And that's specifically the reason why she failed as a Jedi.
and also why she eventually, towards the end, becomes the Acolyte.
Right. And so, what is the Jedi's motivation? Well, they're just trying to, basically, that's one of the things that I would say is the weak point of this show, is they kind of come off like just like cops. Like I don't have any problem with the fact that they made a mistake. Like this, to me, was one of the questions was Saul wrong to kill Mother Anastasia? Of course he was.
Yeah.
I mean, that was the wrong thing to do. Whether or not he was, he didn't mean to do that.
Right.
So it was a mistake, but was it the right thing to do? No. I mean, because we know the whole picture.
Yes.
I mean, we know that she wasn't going to hurt him, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Did he have the right to be concerned? Yes. But, you know, it's been made clear throughout Star Wars that the Jedi do not act in offense; they act in defense.
Yeah.
That's what Yoda said to Luke. Never to, I don't know the exact quote, but only in defense.
Mm-hmm.
That was a very clear statement. So you're not out there to go like go into battle and preemptively fight a war, right?
Right.
Like you're there to defend the galaxy. Defend. And so, you know, I guess you know, you could spin it and you could say, okay, he thought he was defending May and Anastasia or May and Osha. But, you know, like just plain and simple, killing people is wrong.
Yeah.
And he shouldn't have done that.
Yeah.
You know? But, you know, like the Jedi came off as a little crooked in this show. And I think that's where a lot of people also found fault in the show.
Well, but that's my thing, okay? And so for me to answer the question, was it really that bad? No, I don't think it was that bad. I thought they did a masterful job of taking something that we've fallen in love with, something that we've come to know, and giving us the other side of that coin. They had to reimagine a world that we've had our entire life since 1978, and they had to tell the other side of the story.
Yeah. I mean, and again, I'm sitting here making, it's almost like I'm making the argument that it is bad, but I'm not. They could have done a better job at focusing on the Sith.
Sure.
I thought they sold it as this is the perspective of the Sith, but most of the time was following these Jedi and sort of like giving the motivation, like, oh, this is why this happened, which led to this, which led to that, which ultimately leads to, you know, Palpatine getting in power in the Senate, right? But why not like start on the Sith, you know, like go into their caves and go into how they train and go into more like, can you really remember some speeches from a Sith point of view in this show? I mean,
yeah, episode 5, Night, coming
Right.
from Chimera, if he's a Sith, which I assume he is.
I mean, he had a little soliloquy, but I would like to hear like two Siths talking, you know?
Yeah, well, and so if I can be honest, I feel like that's what season 2 was going to afford us. The show was called The Acolyte, and I think everybody was so focused on the stranger being that acolyte, they didn't realize that we were watching the grooming of the acolyte. That's what Osha became.
Right.
She finishes the show as the acolyte.
Absolutely.
And I think because everybody was so focused on the stranger being the acolyte, that when it wasn't fulfilling that expectation, they're like, oh, this is bad writing.
I mean, I think Leslie Headland kind of had a longer game plan, which, don't get me wrong, like, as a creative person, probably made a lot of sense,
Yep.
you know? But, you know, I just don't think they really nailed it in season 1. Like, if they really wanted to get a season 2, they should have given us a little more, like, maybe longer episodes, maybe, like, a little more tease of what Plagueis is all about.
Yeah.
I mean, and don't get me wrong, like, just as a fan, as a person watching it, I was ready for season 2.
Yeah.
Like, even with just a little pinch of Plagueis, I was like, oh my god, I want to see what's going to happen next.
Yeah.
But I think if they really wanted to, like, nail the end of the season, you know, and really, like, drive the point home that this was a good series, they should have just given you a little more.
I will say, I think one of their biggest fails, and again, this is two guys coming from the side that we actually like the show, where they maybe one of their biggest faults came was when they used a whole episode to show us a reverse angle of the same flashback that we had seen.
Right, because we
earlier.
were just getting the momentum going
Yes,
too, right?
exactly.
Like episode 5, everybody was like, all right, this is not too bad.
Yeah.
I might check it out after all.
Yeah.
Right? Episode 6 was like, okay, it slowed down a little bit,
Yeah.
but it was still intriguing.
It's still progressing, yes.
Yeah, and you were like,
then
you have the whole
flashback.
new planet, you have the powers of the helmet, right?
Yeah.
And then boom, it's both those flashback episodes just really kind of like put the
screech
brakes
halted.
on.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Okay.
Just a waste of an episode.
Yeah, and so I mean, again, I am with Leslie Headland. I was expecting a whole nother series or a whole nother season worth of information, of storytelling that she could have unfolded. So it sucks that we're going to be missing out on that. But here is something, and I wonder what this has to do with the news of this. I heard back towards the I want to say the middle of the season, if not the beginning of it. I know that they mentioned a potential spinoff with Yord and Jackie. There was
Books.
right. Well, yes, but I was also hoping to see some live action stuff stem from that. But one, even in book form, because I obviously have the Goodreads Sundays where right now we're reading Thrawn Ascendancy. But
I gotta catch up on that, by the way.
but do you think they'll be spinning anybody else off from this series? And also, who would you like to see if they were to do a spin-off live action show? Who would you like to see? I'm taking Jackie off the table.
I don't think any storyline or character is ever really dead. I think that Disney is a little bit guilty of like ignoring certain characters on purpose.
They love the retcon.
Yeah, they'll just act like it never happened, right? Like, oh, you didn't like May and you didn't like May and Osha? Okay, fine. That story doesn't matter anymore.
Yeah.
But, we're still going to get a Plagueis story at some point.
I hope so. Because that like tease, how would you can't give up if anything, that tease was enough more so for us to fund a whole nother season. I think.
Like I heard it mentioned by somebody today, just as maybe like a hope, is that we'll still get a season of Plagueis, but maybe this is just a chance to like fire the creative team and go about it from a different angle, so you'll still have what happens with Plagueis, maybe the Stranger will come in there, but just not the Acolyte.
They bring the Stranger back. You think it'll be Manny Jacinto again?
I hope so. If not, I think that'd be kind of silly.
I saw a fantastic tweet today that said, remember what they took from us, and they have Manny Jacinto without his shirt, like looking back at the camera. It was hilarious. It was really cool. But
think about it like this. It's like if you're doing decision by committee or focus group.
Yeah.
Who tested well? The
Manny
Stranger.
Jacinto,
He tested extremely well to various audiences, right?
Yeah.
So they're gonna,
especially the ladies.
and I thought he was dang cool too, man.
From Jump Street. Yeah.
Yeah,
I agree.
even as when he was like before we knew what he was, I thought he was a pretty cool character.
Yeah, I agree.
And then him jumping into that action hero role, he nailed it. And then he's still kind of like, I don't know. Some people say that he, it's like, oh, once he turned into the Stranger, or once we knew he was a Sith, that he should have just been badass from then on. But then he kind of went back to being a little bit of a doofus when he was on the island with her.
Yeah.
But to me, that's actually like a layered character.
I agree.
Because that's who he kind of is. He's vulnerable, but he's still like in command when he's in the mask.
In my opinion, that goes to speak to the audiences that we see now. Everybody is so instant gratification that they have a hard time appreciating a layered character.
I agree with you 100% on that. A lot of the nuance is really missed. I'm able to really, and it might just be me being an optimist and a fan, trying to look for ways to like spin things to have it be enjoyable and fun. But I saw a lot of nuance in there, not
Absolutely.
just in his character, but just like I said, like the twins being separated, the torture of Soul and his character, and him trying to prove what really happened, and like and Anasea, being sort of this like wise character who had a background and where she came from, trying to protect her coven, and then people are just like, witches bad, witches are bad. I know witches are bad because on Halloween they got warts on their nose.
Yeah.
It's like, no, just look at what you're seeing.
Yeah.
This is a group of peaceful people who use the Force.
Sounds like the demographic.
And they're trying to, grow their family.
Yeah. Okay, how's this? Before we close out this topic, because there's just nothing that I don't think that you or I are going to be able to say to help bring this back. Talk to me about one. I'll call it like a hot take, if you will, but just like a character or a scene that you were like, wow, this is pretty dope to be seeing. Obviously, there's so many to come out because
what happened in the Acolyte?
Yeah, in the Acolyte, from the show The Acolyte, and I'll start off because and there's so many, and I don't want to take any away from you, so I would just say this. I didn't realize that I would like Torben as much as I did. I think it was dope. The what do you call that oath that he took?
The Vashar.
Vashar
vow.
Yeah, the Vashar vow. That was amazing. That was absolutely dope. And to me, that was the beginning of the writers actually showing off their knowledge of Star Wars history and and lore. Even though they say, oh, they put Mundi in there, and that they're just spitting all over it. But I think I one never heard of a character like Torben, so to get Jedi Master or Jedi Torben in and to see that Bashar Val done in live action, I think that was masterfully done. That was one of the things that I was like, wow, I really dig this show. I want to see more. What do you have?
I mean, speaking back on like looking at the history of Star Wars and what worked, the moment the strangers showed up in Episode 4 with that mask, just looking creepy, and scary, and like just kind of taking control of the whole situation through the end of Episode 5 was just like, if they had made that one big episode, that would have been a killer movie right
That
there.
would have tested off the charts, right?
Yeah, I mean, so yeah, just like the masked character who's just a super baddie. I like to see more of that.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, you know what, you guys, we were actually going to do a review on the Skeleton Crew trailer, but I think we already passed the 30-minute mark. So I think we'll save that for next time. So make sure we watch that. We'll talk about it next time because I'd love to pull that trailer apart with you because there are some things in there, including the fact that Jude Law doesn't want to say that his character is a Jedi, but he is a Force user.
People jump to that conclusion, right?
Yeah, and you don't know who to trust. So we're just gonna leave you guys with that tidbit. So make sure that you guys pay attention for our next Monday night podcast because that'll be the time. Monday nights will be our designated like Star Wars podcast nights. Now, I do want to close on this note. This right here is episode 196 for the Murphy Street podcast. Episode 196. Yes, yeah, we've come a long way. Now, for those of you listening, on episode 198, I will be telling you guys what you guys need to do for our giveaway. We will be doing giveaways of the Murphy Street Collector shirt. And I don't know if you guys have seen it. It is the Amazing Fantasy Spider-Man cover. Has Bombastic Bagman. He's carrying me. We'll be giving away a couple of those shirts just to our listeners / followers on Instagram, on TikTok, and of course to the people on YouTube as well. And for those of you guys listening, you guys will also get the opportunity to, as well as giving away a couple other things to celebrate episode 200. So as we make our way to 200, we want to make sure that we get you guys all ready so that you guys can win something to celebrate with the Murphy Street podcast, Murphy Street Collector. And we want to say thank you so very much for getting us to 200 as we make our way there. But having said
thank
that,
you.
Yeah, no, I'm just a nerd talking nerd stuff. That's what I like to do. But having said that, you guys, we will wrap it up for the evening. Thank you so very much for joining us, everybody on the TikTok verse, everybody on Instagram, everybody on YouTube. This is like the second or third YouTube thing that we're doing.
What about X?
Yeah. Oh, sorry. I don't have a live X going, but we also don't have a live Facebook, which I don't have that many devices. I got 3 devices working here. Okay.
Step up your game, man.
Yeah, apparently I do. But other than that, you guys, make sure that you guys follow us on Instagram, on Twitter, or X, on TikTok at Murphy Street 808, MurphyStreet 808, on YouTube at Murphy Street Productions. Jesse, they can find you at
Hawaii Star Wars Collectors Club on Facebook and Hi Star Wars on Instagram.
I'm gonna ask you just really quickly before we close out. We have some very, very cool secretive things in the works. Are any of those things going to be made available for purchase for
Oh yeah, for sure.
for general public?
Yeah, so we're working on some like sort of Japanese kaiju vinyl Star Wars toys kind of inspired things, and it's kind of still secretive, but that'll definitely be published at some point in the next few months.
Yeah.
Yep.
And what about T-shirts? Will we be selling T-shirts by any
Yeah,
chance?
absolutely. We got some Mecha Rancor t-shirts.
Mecha Rancor T-shirts. Okay. Yes, you guys. So I've seen the concepts for these. They are certified fire. So if you like all that kind of like crazy, just out of this world Star Wars stuff that people don't see, we will definitely be
With a
dropping
Hawaii
that.
twist.
With a Hawaii twist to it, absolutely. So just stay tuned. Jesse will keep us posted on when and where we can get that. But other than that, you guys, we want to thank you so very much for joining us this evening. And as always, on Murphy Street, as you guys make your way out, we always like to remind you, don't forget your slippers. Aloha.
TikTok is blowing up. So we went
Hey,
from
Doc
Wednesday
Ray.
to Monday.
Yeah.